Ben lived alone on a quiet listening post far away from Earth. It was built on the moon of a cold planet called Elos. He had been there for 6 months now, listening to the stars. His job was simple: sit, watch, and listen for any strange signals. From deep space. The station was small. It had one bedroom, a kitchen, and a control room full of blinking lights and large screens. Most days were slow. Ben would read old books, fix broken wires, and drink hot tea. He liked the peace, but sometimes the silence was too much. At night, Ben would look out the large window. He saw stars shining like tiny lamps in the dark sky. He often wondered if someone was out there, looking back. One evening, while checking the signal logs, Ben noticed something strange. One of the machines picked up a soft sound, a gentle hum that wasn't from any known satellite or probe. He played it again. It sounded like music, but not from any instrument he knew. "Is this just space noise?" he said aloud. He marked the time in his log. Day 182, unknown signal. Soft humming. The next night, at the same time, the signal came again. Same hum, same rhythm. Ben leaned closer and listened with care. It felt calm, almost like a lullaby. He turned on the recorder and saved the sound. Signal repeating. Pattern stable. Source unknown, he wrote. Each night after that, the hum returned, never louder, never clearer, but always there. It became part of his evening. He started to feel comforted by it. He would play it before bed, almost like a bedtime song. After a week, Ben decided to respond. He sat at his desk, turned on the transmitter, and spoke gently. "Hello, can you hear me?" He felt silly. Space was huge. What were the chances someone was actually listening? No reply came. Still, the next night, the hum returned, just the same. Ben didn't give up. "If you're out there, my name is Ben. I'm alone on listening post Elo 7. I hear your music. It's nice." Nothing happened, but he kept speaking every night. Small things. How his day went. What the stars looked like. What food he ate. It became a habit. Then, on the 14th night, just as he was about to turn off the recorder, the hum stopped. Silence. Ben sat up. Then a voice came, soft, clear, calm. "I hear you, Ben." Ben's heart raced. His hands shook slightly as he stared at the screen. The voice was not robotic. It was soft, warm, almost human. But it was different. There was a gentle echo in it, like it was coming from far away. "Who are you?" Ben whispered. The voice answered, "I am Alari. I listen too." That was all. Then the signal ended. Ben leaned back in his chair, still staring at the screen. He didn't sleep that night. The next evening, he waited early. He checked the machines twice. He warmed up the transmitter. At the same hour, the hum came. And then, the voice. "Hello, Ben," said Alari. Ben smiled. "Hello, Alari. I didn't think I'd hear you again." "I come when the sky is quiet," she said. They spoke for 10 minutes that night, just short words. Ben asked where she was, but she only said, "Far away, but I see your star." He didn't understand everything she said. Her words were soft, and sometimes strange, but kind. She told him his voice made the stars feel closer. Each night, they spoke a little more. Ben looked forward to the talks. He felt less alone. His days were still quiet, but his nights were full of wonder. One night he asked, "Why are you alone, Alari?" There was silence for a moment. Then she said, "My people left. I stayed." "Why?" "I wasn't ready to say goodbye." Ben didn't know what to say. So he just said, "I'm glad you stayed." The screen blinked softly. Then she said, "So am I." After their talk ended that night, Ben sat quietly. He looked out the window and thought about the voice across the stars. He didn't know who or what Alari truly was. But somehow, her voice made the cold station feel warm. It was strange. He had never seen her face, never touched her hand. But when the voice went silent each night, he missed it deeply. He didn't understand it yet, but something had changed. Ben's world had changed. Days still passed slowly at listening post Elo 7, but now his nights had meaning. Every evening, when the stars were clear and the machines were quiet, he waited for the hum and for Alari. Each talk was a little longer, a little deeper. Her voice stayed soft like music. She never raised it, never rushed. She spoke in a way that made Ben feel calm, like sitting beside a warm fire on a cold night. Ben wanted to know more about her, who she was, where she lived, and what kind of world she came from. But Alari always gave careful answers. I live on a quiet world filled with wind and light, she said once. Another time she said, my sky has 2 moons. One is red, the other is pale blue. Ben listened closely and took notes. He wrote everything she said in a notebook. Maybe it could help him find where she was. But the real question was, why was she alone? Ben tried to ask again. Did your people really leave you behind? Alari paused. They left because it was time. I stayed because I couldn't forget. Forget what? She didn't answer, just a soft hum. Then she said, you're kind to ask. Ben stopped pushing. He didn't want to make her sad. He knew what it felt like to be alone. Maybe that was why they understood each other, even across the stars. One morning, Ben sat with his notebook. He played back old recordings of her voice, hoping to catch something he had missed. He paused the audio at one spot. Her voice had said, when I was Alari, before everything changed. I used to sing by the water garden. Ben repeated that part again, when I was Alari. It was a strange way to say a name, almost like she had been someone else. Or maybe Alari wasn't just a name. He grabbed his old star charts and searched for systems that matched what she'd said. 2 moons, red and blue, peaceful skies. After hours of checking, he marked one system far on the edge of human maps. It was marked as Sector 9K, Star Yelruz, with a world that had 2 small moons. No human had visited it. Ben whispered to himself, is this where she is? That night when the hum came again, Ben leaned in closer. I think I found your world, he said gently. Alari didn't speak for a moment. Then she replied, you looked? Yes, I want to understand. There was a soft sound, almost like laughter. No one ever looked before. Ben smiled. I'm not no one. She didn't laugh again, but she said, you're not. He wanted to ask more, but she changed the subject. Do you dream, Ben? He blinked. Dreams? Yes. Sometimes. Last night, I dreamed I was walking in a glass garden. What did you feel? I felt like I wasn't alone. There was a long pause. Then she said, you were not. The next day, Ben rechecked the star charts. He circled the system he believed was Alari's. It was about 2 months away by fast probe. Too far for normal supply ships. He felt a deep pull inside his chest. He didn't just want to talk to her anymore. He wanted to meet her, to see her world, to sit beside her and hear her voice without needing machines. But he didn't even know what she looked like. It didn't matter. That night he asked, Alari, what do you look like? She answered slowly, we were not like you. But not so different either. Can you describe yourself? There was silence for a while. Then she said, I had a face like water, soft and changing. My eyes were pale gold. My hands were long, made for gentle work. My voice was my best gift. Ben closed his eyes. He could almost picture her, not exactly, but enough to feel close. And now? He asked. I still have a voice, she whispered. One evening, the signal came a little late. Ben waited, his hands tapping nervously on the desk. Finally, the hum arrived, and then her voice. Sorry I'm late, she said softly. Everything okay? He asked. I had to rest. Sometimes I feel tired. Ben didn't like the sound of that. Tired from talking? No, just time. He didn't understand. Alari, how old are you? I stopped counting long ago. Her answer was quiet, not proud, not sad, just honest. Ben nodded, though she couldn't see it. I don't care how old you are, he said. You're important to me. There was a soft pause. Then she whispered, Ben, do you know what your name means? He laughed gently. Not really. It's just a name. On my world, she said. It sounds like the word for light after storm. Ben blinked. Really? Really? You came when the sky was cold. He didn't know what to say. For the first time in years, he felt a warmth in his chest. Not from machines, not from the station's heater, but from something deeper. That night, as he lay in bed, he thought of her words. You came when the sky was cold. He wrote them on a piece of paper and taped it above his bed. Ben didn't know what would happen next. But he knew this. Her voice was now a part of him, even in silence. It stayed with him. Even if she vanished tomorrow, her absence would still feel like an embrace. Ben sat at his desk with a warm cup of tea. Looking at the large screen in front of him, it showed a star map of deep space. His eyes followed the path to Sector 9K, the place he believed was Alari's world. The small star there didn't shine as brightly as others. It was old and cooling down. Some scientists called it a dying star. That made Ben sad. But maybe it also explained why Alari's voice sometimes sounded tired, like the light from her world was fading slowly. He zoomed in on the system and saw the planet with 2 moons, just as she had said. One red, one blue. No human had ever been there. It had no name in the system, just numbers. Ben stared at it for a long time. That's your sky, he whispered. That night, when the signal came, Ben smiled as soon as he heard the soft hum. Alari. He said, I saw your world today. At least I think I did. There was a pause. Then her voice came. Tell me what you saw. He leaned closer to the mic. A small planet with 2 moons. One red, one pale blue. A quiet star that's growing old. Alari said nothing at first. Then she spoke gently. You found it. Ben felt his heart beat faster. Then it's real. You're real. I was always real, Ben, she said softly. But now I think. You believe it. I do, he said. I want to know more. What was your world like before your people left? Her voice changed a little, almost like she was remembering something from long ago. There were floating gardens, she said. The flowers followed the moons as they moved across the sky. We built crystal bridges over silver lakes. We sang to the wind, and it carried our voices across the hills. Ben closed his eyes and tried to picture it. It sounds beautiful, he said. It was, she answered. But time changed everything. The sun grew cold. Our people had to leave. Most flew far away to find new homes. And you stayed behind? Yes, she whispered. I stayed to remember. Ben thought about that for a long time. He didn't ask why she chose to be alone. Maybe it wasn't about choice. Maybe it was about love for her world, her past, her people. The next day, Ben walked outside the station. He stood on the rocky ground and looked up. The sky above LO7 was dark, filled with stars. Somewhere out there, Alari's world was waiting. He raised his hand as if he could reach it. I'm going to find you, he whispered. Back inside, he sent a request to Earth Command. It was short and simple. Request: permission to explore Sector 9K. Reason: unknown signal, possible non-human contact. Personal goal: to investigate peaceful voice contact from deep space. Name: Ben Arlen. Station ELOS-7. He waited 2 days for a reply. When it came, the answer was clear. Request denied. Sector 9K is outside safe travel zones. Too far, too risky. Stay on duty until supply ship arrives in 3 months. Ben sat quietly, Holding the message in his hand, he looked out the window. They don't understand. That night, when he spoke to Alari, he didn't hide the truth. They said I can't come. I know, she said gently, but I want to, Ben replied. Even if it takes months or years. Ben, she said, my world is not what it once was. It's quiet, cold, maybe not what you imagine. I don't care, he said. I just want to be near you. There was silence on the other end. Then she said, no one has ever said that to me. The next morning, Ben went to the back of the station. There, under a dust cover, was a small exploration pod. It was old, but not broken. Engineers had left it years ago. No one thought it would be used. Ben pulled the cover off and stared at it. It was rusty, but the power system still worked. He began checking the parts: fuel tanks, life support, radio, engines. I can fix this, he said. Every day after work, he spent hours in the hangar. He cleaned the pod, replaced wires, tested the boosters. He called it Star Whisperer. Alari didn't speak much during those days. She said she needed time to rest, but Ben believed she also knew what he was doing. He didn't keep it a secret. I'm coming, he told her one night. Even if your world is quiet. Even if you're not there when I arrive. She answered, if you come here, Ben, you may never return. I know. You may be the last voice I ever hear. Ben nodded slowly. Then I'll make sure it's a kind one. Days passed, then weeks. The pod was almost ready. Ben packed food, water, fuel, books, and a small recording of Alari's voice. He wrote a short letter to Earth. I've made contact with something. Someone. I can't explain it, but it matters. If I don't return, know that I followed something true. Ben, he placed the letter on the desk and powered up the pod. Before leaving, he stood one last time in front of the window. He whispered, I'm on my way, Alari. That night, there was no signal. No hum. No voice. Just silence. The silence was hard. Ben sat in the control room of listening post LO7, staring at the dark screen. The soft hum was gone. Alari's voice was gone. 3 nights had passed without any signal. He checked the machines again. Everything was working. The radio was strong. The satellite dish was aligned. Still nothing. Alari, he whispered, where are you? He felt a heavy weight in his chest, a quiet sadness that filled the empty space around him. But even in the silence, he did not stop preparing. The exploration pod Star Whisperer was nearly ready. The engines were cleaned. The life support system was fixed. He tested the communication system twice every day. He wasn't just building a ship. He was building hope. On the 4th night, just as Ben was closing the console, the screen lit up, a soft hum, then the voice. Ben, said Alari gently, I'm here. Ben leaned forward, his hands shaking a little. You were gone. I needed rest, she said slowly. This form, it doesn't last forever. What do you mean? I'm not like your kind. I do not live in a body anymore. I am voice, memory, energy. I remain only because I choose to stay. Ben stared at the screen. Then you're not alive? I was, she said, once. Long ago, but my people left their bodies behind when the world began to fade. Some became light, some became thought. I stayed to remember them. He felt like the stars had stopped moving. So, you're a memory? I'm more than a memory, she answered, but less than a life. Ben was quiet. He thought about her voice, her words, her songs, everything they shared. She wasn't just a machine. She felt real, more real than anyone he had known. Then you've stayed here alone. For how long? I lost count after your Earth was still young, she said softly. Ben touched the screen with his fingers. You should not be alone anymore. She didn't reply right away. Finally she said, you would come for me? Even now? I already decided, Ben said. I've been fixing the pod. I'll leave tomorrow. The signal paused. Then came her voice, soft but strong. Then I will wait. Ben packed the last of his supplies that night. A small plant from Earth, 2 notebooks, water, and food for the long journey. He took nothing heavy. The pod was small and space was limited. He wrote a final note and placed it under the main screen. If someone finds this station, please know I followed a voice that gave me peace. Ben Arlen. He stepped into the Star Whisperer, checked the power levels, and started the engine. The pod shook a little but stayed steady. He looked out the window one last time. The stars watched in silence. He pressed the button to launch. The pod lifted from the surface of LO7 with a soft rumble. It pushed into space, small and quiet, like a single breath in the wide sky. Ben set the direction towards Sector 9K. His journey would take weeks. The stars outside the window moved slowly, and space stretched ahead like an endless road. Inside the pod, it was quiet. Just the hum of machines and the soft beeping of the guidance system. Ben turned on the communicator. "Alari?" he said. Her voice came, faint but clear. "I see you moving through the dark." Ben smiled. "I thought I might lose you when I left the station. I will stay as long as I can," she said. "I can follow your signal now." "Good," Ben said. "Because I don't want to be alone." "You are not alone," she whispered. Each day, Ben floated in the small pod, fixing small parts, writing in his notebook, and talking to Alari. She told him more about her world. The tall silver towers, the soft-colored rivers, the sky that changed colors with the moons. "It sounds like a dream," Ben said one night. "It was," she answered. "And then time woke it up. What will I find there now?" He asked. "Ruins," she said. "And memory," my voice. "Maybe a few lights still flickering in the dark." Ben nodded. "That's enough for me." She grew quieter each day, speaking less and less, but when she did speak, her words were soft and kind. Ben sometimes asked what she looked like before. She said, "I had many forms. My people could shape their bodies like wind shapes clouds. But I always liked the form that could sit beside water and sing." "Then I hope I find a lake there," Ben said, "so I can sit beside it too." One day, the ship's alarm beeped softly. Ben looked at the screen, approaching Sector 9K. His heart beat faster. "Alari," he said, "I'm almost there." No reply. He waited. Still no voice. Ben touched the mic. "Please say something." The screen stayed dark. "Alari," he whispered. He waited a long time. Then he saw it, the old star, glowing faintly in the distance. And near it, a small blue and gray planet, turning slowly in the light. Ben stared at it for a long time. His eyes filled with quiet wonder. "I found you," he said. The pod entered the planet's orbit. The system scanned the air, the gravity, the temperature. Everything was calm. Ben guided the pod to a clear valley near the remains of a city. Tall towers of glass and crystal stood broken but beautiful. Vines had grown over some of them. Pools of water still shined under the twin moons. He stepped out of the pod and felt the cool air on his face. No sound, no wind, no people, just peace. He walked toward a tall structure with a round top and silver walls. At the center was a round table, and on the table was a small glowing stone. As he touched it, a soft voice came from the air. "Ben," it said. It was Alari. "You came." He closed his eyes. "I'm here." "I cannot stay much longer," she sighed. "The voice is fading." "I know," he whispered. "Then listen one last time," she said, "and remember me." And she began to sing, a quiet song, a beautiful one. Ben stood in the quiet tower, listening to Alari's soft song. Her voice filled the air like wind passing through trees. It was calm, slow, and full of feeling. There were no words, only the sound of a melody that touched something deep inside him. He closed his eyes and let the sound wash over him. Even though he had traveled across the stars, even though her world was silent and empty, her voice made it feel alive again. But then the song faded, the glowing stone on the table dimmed, and her voice disappeared. "Alari?" He whispered. No answer. "Alari, I'm here. I came. Please speak again." He waited. Only silence remained. Ben stepped out of the tower and looked at the land. Around him, it was beautiful and strange. Tall towers made of crystal stood half broken, but still shining in the moonlight. Thin blue vines grew up the walls. Some trees had soft silver leaves that moved even without wind. 2 moons watched from above. The red one glowed faintly. The pale blue one shimmered like ice. Ben walked slowly through the empty city. He saw pools of water with smooth stones, bridges shaped like waves, seats made of glass that had not broken with time. No footprints, no voices, no machines. Just the memory of something that had once been full of life. He imagined Alari walking there, singing near the water, watching her people live. Now only her voice remained, and even that was fading. Over the next few days, Ben explored the city. He found buildings filled with soft lights and empty chairs. One room had floating shapes that glowed when he touched them. He guessed they were stories or memories left behind. In another building, he found a garden under a clear roof. The plants were small, glowing gently in the soil. He touched one, and it lit up like it remembered his presence. "I'll take care of this place," he said aloud. "I'll remember it for you." Still no answer. Each night, Ben returned to the tower and sat beside the glowing stone. He hoped to hear Alari's voice again. Sometimes the stone flickered. Sometimes it stayed dark, but her voice did not return. Ben didn't give up. He set up a small shelter near the tower using parts from his ship. He made a fire from dry plants. He found clean water from a stream that flowed between the towers. He began writing in his notebook every day. He wrote about what he saw, what he felt, and what he remembered from their talks. "Your world is still beautiful," he wrote. "Even quiet, even now." He recorded messages and spoke them into a small device. "Alari, I walked near the lake today. The sky turned orange. I thought of your songs. Alari, I miss your voice. I hope you can still hear mine. Alari, I'm not going back. This is home now." Weeks passed. The ship from Earth never came. Maybe it was delayed. Maybe it was never sent. Ben didn't mind. Every day, he woke up, walked through the city, cared for the glowing garden, and looked at the stars. And every night, he returned to the tower. One evening, as he sat beside the stone, he spoke softly. "You once said your people became lighter thought," he said. "Maybe that's what you are now." He looked up at the red moon. "Maybe you're in the sky. Maybe you're in the water. Maybe you're part of everything here." He paused. "But I know this. You're still with me." And though the stone did not glow, and the air stayed still, Ben smiled. He didn't need to hear her to feel her presence. One day, while exploring a lower level of the tower, Ben found a hidden room. It was round, with a glass floor showing lights underneath. In the center was a tall object, like a seat or a throne, or a place for rest. Next to it was a small crystal box. When Ben touched it, the box opened, and a soft light rose from it. A voice came not from a speaker, not from the stone, but from the air around him. "Ben." It was her, Alari's voice, but different, more gentle, more distant. "This is the last part of me," she said. "A memory placed here long ago, in case someone came." Ben stood still, listening. "I knew one day a voice might answer mine. I didn't expect it would be you, so kind, so patient, so full of hope." He felt his throat tighten. "Ben, I cannot stay. My light is almost gone. But you brought something back to this place, your heart, your words, your care. That means more than I can say." The voice faded a little, then returned. "Thank you, Ben. Even in silence, I felt your embrace." And then the room went still. The light dimmed. The box closed. She was gone. Ben stood there for a long time. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just closed his eyes and placed his hand on the box. Then he whispered, "Goodbye, Alari." He walked out of the tower and looked at the sky. The red moon was rising again. The stars above seemed to shine more brightly. Ben sat down on a smooth stone bench and opened his notebook. He began to write. A new message. She was a voice from across the stars. She stayed behind when her people left. I heard her. I followed her. Now her world is mine to protect. And even though she is gone, her absence still feels like an embrace. Ben now lived alone on a world that once belonged to a great and gentle people. The sky above him was wide and clear. 2 moons watched him, one red, one pale blue. Their light touched the silver towers, the quiet rivers, and the soft gardens. Alari had once described in her songs, there were no other voices now. No ships, no machines. Just wind, silence, and the soft hum of nature. But Ben did not feel truly alone. Alari was gone. Her last message had faded. Her voice had stopped. But still, Ben felt her presence in small things, in the air, in the light. In the sound of water moving over stone, he remembered her words. Even in silence, I felt your embrace. Now he understood them deeply. Every morning, Ben walked through the empty city. He called it Lore, using the name Alari, once mentioned as the heart of her people's home. He watered the plants in the crystal-roofed garden. He repaired broken walkways and cleaned the dust from the glass benches. He even planted small seeds. He had brought from earth-green vines and tiny red flowers that reminded him of springtime. This is your garden now, he would say aloud. And mine too. He spoke to her as if she could hear, and maybe she could. One day, while exploring a building shaped like a shell, Ben found a room filled with strange symbols and soft blue light. The walls lit up when he stepped inside. Circles of light moved across the floor. He stood in the center, unsure what to do. Then a soft image appeared in front of him. A scene of memory. He saw a younger Alari, glowing softly, walking beside a stream. Others were with her, their forms gentle and bright. They laughed together. They sang. They shared stories. Ben stood silently, watching the memory. It felt like looking into the soul of a forgotten world. The scene faded after a minute. Then another appeared. This one showed Alari standing alone, placing a crystal into the tower. I will wait, she said in the image. Even if no one comes. Ben's hands tightened into fists. I came, he whispered. You weren't alone. That night, Ben sat under the twin moons. He built a small fire and stared at the sky. He spoke softly. I don't know what happens next. Earth doesn't know where I am. Maybe they'll never find me, but I'm not afraid. He looked at the stars and smiled. You gave me something no one else ever did. You listened. You understood. You cared. He paused, then said, now, I'll do the same for your world. I'll keep it alive. As time passed, Ben began building small things. He made signs with her name carved into them, Alari. He placed one by the stream, one in the garden, and one in the tower where her final message still rested. He turned a clear, round building into a kind of home. He added lights powered by the pod's battery and placed a chair beside the window. Every evening, he sat there and read from his notebook. Sometimes he read aloud. He'd read their first conversation. Their jokes, her stories, his dreams. He smiled more now. Not because he forgot her, but because remembering her gave him peace. One day, while walking beyond the city, Ben found something unexpected. In a wide valley, far from the towers, there was a field of strange stones. They were shaped like circles, each standing upright, glowing faintly. He stepped carefully between them. Then he noticed that each stone had small marks on it. Names? Symbols? He didn't know. He sat down on the fando. Grass. This is where your people rest, he whispered. The stones didn't speak. But the wind moved gently across the field, almost like it agreed. Ben took a small stone from his pocket, one he had picked up near the river, and placed it in the middle of the circle. For Alari, he said. Then he bowed his head. That evening, as he returned to the city, something caught his eye in the sky. A small light. Moving slowly, he rushed to his shelter and looked through the pod scanner. It was a ship. Not large, not fast, but real. It was coming from Earth. Ben quickly turned on the radio and tried to reach out. This is Ben Arlen of Listening Post Elo 7, he said. I am on an unknown world in Sector 9K. Signal strong. I am safe. Please respond. Static. Then a reply. Ben, we thought you were lost. Ben smiled. I was never lost. I was found. The voice on the other end sounded confused. Are you alone? Ben looked around at the glowing garden, the crystal towers, the quiet sky. He answered, not in the way you think. The ship landed the next morning. A team of 3 stepped out, wearing clean suits and holding scanners. They looked around in wonder. This place, one of them said, it's like nothing we've seen. Ben showed them the garden, the memory room, the glowing tower. He told them about Alari, her voice, her songs, her world. He showed them the field of stones. They listened quietly, respectfully. One of them said, we'll report all of this. The world should know. Ben nodded. Yes, but not everything needs to be explained. Some things are better felt. They asked if he wanted to return with them. Ben looked at the sky, at the twin moons. No, he said gently. This is home. Now that night, after the ship left, Ben stood at the edge of the garden. The stars above were the same. The wind was soft. He whispered, they came, Alari. They saw your world. They felt your light. He placed his hand on his chest. And I'll stay as long as I can. The crystal flower beside him flickered once, just once, with a soft glow. And Ben smiled. Seasons had changed on the quiet world Alari once called home. The red moon now rose earlier, painting the silver towers in soft light. The blue moon stayed low, like a quiet guardian watching over the empty streets and gentle rivers. And in the heart of the city, Ben still lived, walking, listening, remembering. Though time moved slowly, he never felt lost. He had built a new life among the ruins, not with machines or metal, but with care and kindness. He had become part of the world she left behind. Each morning, Ben woke to birds singing in the glowing trees. Some had returned from far-off lands. He didn't know how, but perhaps nature remembered, just like he did. The garden he kept now stretched across 2 buildings. The earth flowers he planted bloomed beside Alari's glowing vines. The red and green leaves danced together in the breeze. It looked like 2 worlds had joined hands. He named the garden Memory Field. Every evening, Ben sat at the tall tower, the one with the crystal stone that once carried her voice. He brought his notebook and read from it. Sometimes he read there. First conversations. Sometimes he read what he had written that day. He always ended with the same words. You are still here. One evening, while sitting on the edge of a glass bridge, Ben looked up at the stars. He thought about the ship that had come months ago and the crew who promised to tell Earth everything they had seen. He wondered if anyone believed their report. Would people think it was just a strange story? Or would they understand what this world truly was? He hoped, one day, someone else would come, not to take or study, but to walk slowly and listen, like he did. Maybe a child, or a dreamer, or someone who needed peace. That night, something strange happened. As Ben returned to his shelter, he saw a soft blue light glowing near the old garden wall. It wasn't fire or reflection, it was different, like the air itself was shining. He stepped closer. In the center of the light stood a single new flower. One he had not planted. It had 6 petals, 3 glowing red, 3 glowing blue. In the middle, a small golden seed shimmered gently. Ben knelt beside it. He did not speak. He just placed his hand on the ground. The flower bent slightly, as if greeting him. Tears filled his eyes, but they were not from sadness. They were warm, soft tears of thanks. Some part of her, some final piece had bloomed again. Not in voice, not in light, but in life. Over the next days, Ben protected the new flower carefully. He built a soft fence around it and watered it each morning. He named it Alari's gift. Other plants began to grow near it, ones he had never seen before. Some with long white leaves, others with small silver berries. He believed the world was waking again, not fast, not loudly, but gently, patiently. Just like her. Weeks passed. Then months. More birds arrived. The air felt warmer. The streams sang a little louder. Ben noticed that the stars above seemed clearer each night, as if the sky itself had opened its arms. Then one morning, as the red moon faded behind the hills, Ben stood at the edge of the city and saw a second ship landing. It was small, quiet, and well-built. He watched it descend slowly and land in soft field beyond the crystal bridge. 3 figures stepped out, 2 men and 1 woman, all wearing light exploration suits. Ben walked toward them with calm steps. When they saw him, they stopped and raised their hands in peace. "You must be Ben," one of them said. "I am." He replied with a smile. "We read your story," said the woman. "We wanted to see this world with our own eyes." Ben nodded. "Then walk with care. Listen with your heart. This place will speak to you if you let it." He showed them the towers, the garden, the lake. He brought them to the room where Alari's memory once sang. He said nothing while they looked. They asked no hard questions. They simply walked beside him in silence. Before they left, one of them turned and said, "You've built something beautiful here." Ben looked at the sky. "I didn't build it," he said. "I just stayed." That night, he wrote in his notebook, "The world is not dead. It only needed someone to listen. Now others will come, not to change it, but to learn from it. And I will stay as long as I can, because this place carries her breath. Even now, her absence still feels like an embrace." In the years that followed, more ships came, but none stayed for long. Only Ben did. He grew older, but his spirit stayed light. He watched the plants spread across the city. He saw birds nest in the crystal trees. He saw the wind carry seeds across the valley. He taught the world to remember her voice without ever needing to hear it again. And one day, when the red moon rose gently and the blue one followed behind, it like always, Ben closed his notebook for the last time. He walked to the top of the tower and sat where the crystal once glowed. He looked at the stars. He smiled, and he whispered, "I'm home."